Both George H.W. Bush and Jimmy Carter were one-term presidents by reason of election loss. Both also, in my opinion, were exceptionally good presidents for the economy. Does this mean, however, that I think presidents should be limited to one term? Absolutely not. That is not what I think. What I think is this. I think presidents that get lack of re-election might have been good for the country, but in ways that cause upfront pain. I remember my mom telling me to eat my broccoli because then I would grow up to be strong and healthy. And as you can see, I'm quite strong and healthy now. So it worked. Thanks, Mom. But I had upfront pain because I like broccoli now, but at the time I didn't. Well, George H.W. Bush, let's talk about him first. He did this thing where he promised not to raise taxes. In fact, it was famous. He said, "Read my lips, no new taxes." Well, guess what? He raised taxes and he cut spending. He had cooperation of the opposition party, the Democrats in Congress. So they did that and it helped, but not initially. Initially, it caused pain. But later, like 10 years later, in the late 90s, early 2000s, America's fiscal situation was very, very good. And we had a surplus. And there was one study that showed the surplus. A lot of people credit the internet boom or Clinton's policies. But one study said 60% of the reason was the fiscal maneuvering that Bush and with the cooperation of the Democrats had done about a decade earlier. But yet the upfront pain contributed to his loss to Clinton in the 1992 election. All right. Jimmy Carter, another one-term president, 1979, he had to make a decision about who to appoint to the Fed, the United States Central Bank. He had to make a decision about who to appoint. And he had a choice. He could either get somebody in there who would cause pain to get the inflation down. There was stagflation going on at the time. High inflation, high unemployment, a bad situation. And it was made worse by bad policy because the central bank kept printing money every time it looked like we were going into recession. But it wasn't working anymore because the market was wise to it. It was a sugar rush. It wasn't real growth. The money supply going up. And so it was just making everything worse, although initially it would seem to help. But he made the tough decision to get somebody in there that would really reduce the money supply, raise interest rates, do what was necessary to fix it. But that's like a 5-year project. And he didn't have 5 years. He lost the election the next year in 1980. There are other factors too, but in both these cases, there was upfront pain that these leaders imposed. And if there's a takeaway from this, we need to look at people's long-term results from their leadership, not just their short-term happenings. We also need to understand that true statesmanship sometimes means taking electoral risk on yourself and not actually, and doing that risky thing, potentially losing re-election in order to do the right thing for the country.